I never wanted to attend that company party. Something in my gut told me to stay home. But as a junior clerk at Patterson Industries, attendance wasn't really optional. I'm Sarah Mitchell, and this is how my life changed forever in ways I never could have imagined. Growing up, I learned early that nothing comes easy. My parents died in a car crash when I was 16, leaving me to bounce between foster homes until I aged out of the system. Despite everything, I put myself through community college, working 3 jobs just to afford basic necessities. When I finally landed an entry-level position at Patterson Industries, it felt like my first real break. The company was massive, a global corporation dealing in everything from real estate to technology. I was just a small cog in the machine, processing paperwork in the HR department, but I was proud of even having my foot in the door. My direct supervisor, Linda Patterson, was the CEO's wife, and she never let anyone forget it. Linda Patterson was everything I wasn't, dripping in designer clothes, perfectly manicured, and thoroughly entitled. From day one, she seemed to take personal offense at my very existence. Maybe it was my secondhand clothes or the fact that I brought lunch from home instead of ordering from expensive restaurants like she did. Whatever the reason, she made it her mission to remind me of my place. "Sarah," she'd say, her voice dripping with fake sweetness, "be a dear and fetch my coffee. And try not to spill it this time. That cardigan you're wearing has seen enough wear already." Her comments always had an audience, and the office would fill with muffled snickers. I endured it all silently. This job was my lifeline, my chance at building something better. But everything came to a head at the annual company gala. The event was held at the Grand Plaza Hotel, the kind of place I'd only seen in magazines. I spent 3 months saving to buy a simple black dress from a department store clearance rack. It wasn't designer, but it was elegant enough. Or so I thought. The moment I walked in, Linda's sharp laugh cut through the crowd. "Oh my," she announced loudly, gesturing to her friends with her champagne glass. "Look who decided to join us. Sarah, dear, didn't you read the dress code? This isn't a funeral. That dress certainly looks like it came from one." Her friends tittered, and I felt my cheeks burn. But Linda wasn't finished. She sauntered over, her red-soled shoes clicking against the marble floor. "You know," she continued, her voice carrying across the now silent room, "some people just don't understand their place. A company gala is for people who contribute value, not poor clerks who probably spent their whole month's salary just to buy that tragic excuse for a dress." I stood there frozen as tears threatened to spill. Then my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but anything was better than standing there under Linda's cruel gaze. "Excuse me," I whispered, hurrying toward the hotel's quiet corridor. "Is this Sarah Mitchell?" A formal voice asked whom I answered. "Yes, this is she." "Ms. Mitchell, this is Robert Chen from Chen & Associates Law Firm. I'm calling about your uncle, James Patterson. I'm afraid he passed away last week." My heart stopped. "I'm sorry, there must be some mistake. I don't have an uncle." "On the contrary, Ms. Mitchell. James Patterson was your mother's brother. He changed his name when he started his business empire. He's been watching over you from afar all these years, and now, well, he's left you everything." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. "Everything," I whispered. "Yes, Ms. Mitchell. Patterson Industries, all its subsidiaries, his personal fortune, approximately $8.2 billion in total assets. As his sole heir, it's all yours." I gripped the wall for support. James Patterson, the founder of Patterson Industries, the mysterious recluse who no one had seen in years, was my uncle, and he left me everything. "There's more," Mr. Chen continued. "Your uncle left a letter explaining everything. If you'd like, I can have a car pick you up now to review the documents." As I ended the call, I turned to find Linda standing there, her face white as a sheet. She'd heard everything. You can't be," she stammered. I straightened my shoulders, years of suppressed confidence suddenly flooding back. "I believe you were just saying something about knowing one's place, Linda." The next few hours were a blur. Mr. Chen's car, a sleek black limousine, picked me up from the hotel. As Linda and the other party guests watched in shocked silence, I walked out with my head held high. At the law firm, I learned the full story. My mother and Uncle James had been close as children, but their parents' toxic marriage drove them apart. When James changed his name and started building his empire, he lost touch with my mother. He only learned about her death and my existence years later. He wanted to approach you, Mr. Chen explained. But he worried you might think he was trying to buy your affection. Instead, he watched over you from afar, making sure you always had job opportunities, though he never interfered directly. He wanted you to build your own strength. The letter Uncle James left me brought tears to my eyes. My dearest niece, I've watched you grow into an extraordinary woman. Despite every hardship, you've shown grace, resilience, and determination. These are the qualities that build true success, not inherited wealth or social status. I'm leaving you everything not because you need it, but because you've proven you deserve it. Use it wisely, and remember, kindness and integrity are worth more than all the money in the world. As I sat in my tiny apartment that night, surrounded by documents detailing my new reality, my phone buzzed continuously with messages from coworkers and executives who've ignored me just hours before. But one message caught my eye, an email from Linda Patterson. Sarah, I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive my behavior. I never knew. I smiled, thinking of all the times she'd humiliated me, all the coffee runs and snide comments. Tomorrow, I would walk into Patterson Industries not as a clerk, but as its owner, and I had some changes in mind. But first, I needed to understand exactly what I'd inherited. As I began going through the company files Mr. Chen had given me, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. Hidden in the records was evidence of a scheme so shocking, it would change everything again. Looking at the documents before me, I realized this was just the beginning of my story. The documents scattered across my coffee table told a story that made my newfound inheritance seem like just the tip of the iceberg. Linda Patterson and her husband, CEO Richard Patterson, had been systematically embezzling millions from the company for years. But that wasn't even the worst part. Hidden in a folder marked Project Phoenix were emails between Linda and Richard discussing my parents' accident. It wasn't an accident at all. They had discovered Uncle James's connection to my mother and were getting too close to exposing Linda and Richard's schemes. The Pattersons had arranged everything from the faulty brakes to the corrupted police report. My hands shook as I read email after email. They had watched me struggle through foster care, work multiple jobs, and endure Linda's abuse, all while knowing they were responsible for my parents' death. The timestamp showed the last email was sent just hours before the gala. The next morning, I walked into Patterson Industries wearing a tailored Chanel suit, my first purchase as a billionaire. The security team, already notified of the ownership change, nodded respectfully. "Good morning, Ms. Mitchell." I headed straight to the executive floor, where I found Linda already holding court in her office. She jumped up when she saw me, her designer smile plastered on her face. "Sarah, I was just telling everyone how I always saw such potential in you. In fact, save it." I cut her off, my voice ice cold. "Security will escort you out. The police are waiting in the lobby." Her face went from fake warmth to panic in seconds. "Police? What are you talking about? Project Phoenix ring any bells, Linda? Or should we discuss my parents' accident?" The color drained from her face. "You don't understand. Richard handled all that. I just helped plan their murder and watched their daughter struggle for years. I finished for her. Don't worry, Richard's being picked up too." As security led her away, her screams echoed through the halls. "You can't do this. Do you know who I am?" "Actually," I replied calmly, "I know exactly who you are. And more importantly, I know what you did." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. The evidence was irrefutable. Richard and Linda Patterson were arrested and charged with multiple counts of fraud, embezzlement, and first-degree murder. Their perfect world crumbled as quickly as mine had changed. During their trial, I sat in a courtroom every day, watching as they were sentenced to life in prison without parole. Linda's designer clothes were replaced with an orange jumpsuit, her manicured nails now plain and short. But revenge wasn't my end goal. Uncle James's words about kindness and integrity echoed in my mind. I used my new position to transform Patterson Industries. We established a foundation helping foster kids through college, created job training programs for underprivileged youth, and implemented strict ethical business practices. 5 years later, I stood at the podium accepting the Humanitarian of the Year award. The company had doubled in size, but more importantly, we'd helped thousands of people build better lives. After the ceremony, I visited my parents' grave, placing fresh flowers beside their headstone. "I hope you're proud," I whispered. "Everything I am, everything I've built, it's because of the strength you taught me." As I turned to leave, I noticed an elderly woman watching me. She approached slowly, tears in her eyes. "Ms. Mitchell, I'm Margaret Patterson, James's and your mother's mother. Your grandmother." I froze, studying her face. She had my mother's eyes. "I've wanted to approach you for so long," she continued, her voice shaking. "When I heard what Richard and Linda did, I'm so sorry. I failed your mother, failed the whole family. But watching you transform the company, helping others instead of seeking revenge, you're everything your mother was and more." I thought about Uncle James's words about family and forgiveness. Taking my grandmother's trembling hand, I smiled. "Would you like to get coffee? I'd love to hear stories about Mom." As we walked away together, I realized that true success isn't measured in dollars or revenge. It's measured in how we rise above our circumstances to help others. Linda and Richard had tried to break me, but instead they'd made me stronger. And now I was using that strength to break the cycle of cruelty and build something better. The clerk they'd once mocked had become not just their boss, but something they could never be, a force for positive change. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. That night, as I sat in my office overlooking the city, I opened my mother's old locket, the only thing I had left of her. Inside was a faded photo and a tiny note I'd never noticed before. In my mother's handwriting were the words, "To my dearest Sarah, your heart is your greatest strength. Use it wisely." I smiled, knowing that's exactly what I'd done. The poor clerk they tried to break had become something far more powerful than they could have imagined. Not just a wealthy woman, but a living testament to the power of resilience, integrity, and compassion.